generally when it comes to their indoor karting, take a bit more seriously than generally it's taken in Britain. However, they are much more used to this kind of strategy that we've been talking about with the pit stops, thinking about how you're going to come out of the pits. That's what's really important in all of this, where you're actually going to cycle out. So you can pit stop yourself out of a problem, or if you feel like you're in the zone and you're running good and there's no problem with your pace at the time, you may want to stay out and leave it till the end rather than break concentration. They're on their sort of warm-up lap now. That's Sam Spinell we saw weaving the carts to warm up the tyres. I'm not really sure that actually does a lot, but probably good for the brain.
Well, especially with the conditions outside being at least -3 at the very minimum. The floor is still going to be cold. It's a concrete surface, so he's going to he's trying to eke out everything. As Tom Van Dijk has just done a 36.7.
Yeah, that's their outlap. When they come out the pits, it's interesting though you pick up on that, Alex, because when they come out the pits, they immediately cross the line. So we almost get a little pointer to that driver if they're doing a bit of a practice lap first of all, as to what their pace may be relative to the others. Although we will see the actual qualifying lap definitely faster. However, they are all on that qualifying lap. And in fact, we've seen Gary Jones take the provisional pole there. From Tom Van Dijk, which is very, very interesting, because Tom Van Dijk clearly won the pre-race favourites, but Gary Jones been doing great, and Sam Spinell is below Gary Jones as well. So is Mark Jaggard. This is very interesting. Gary Jones on the provisional pole. No one can beat him. Steve Gray up to second. He'll be really loving that. Steve Gray, it's important for him. He went very well in the testing on Friday. Felt he had underperformed yesterday. Matt Barsh. 34 second, the only one into 34 seconds, takes the provisional pole from Michael Weddle. This is exactly what Michael Weddle needs. Gary Jones bundled down to fourth, that's still good. Third, still good. Steve Gray in fourth, Tom Van Dijk fifth. He will probably feel like he's the biggest loser in that. Stephen King sixth, Melanie Howell, we've not seen her up in seventh place, normally around about 9th or 10th, so a good run by her. Gregor Oleknovic is in eighth place. Sam Spinell will be distraught over 9th. Absolutely distraught. We can expect some serious fireworks from him. Yeah. Really, he's one of the top 3 drivers in this 9th. Just is not going to cut it for him. Mark Jaggard 10th, but I think the action here straight away could be Spinell trying to come through the field. It's interesting, will he go for an early pit stop or is he going to try and fight his way through? I think a lot depends on those ahead. I'm actually betting on the early pit stop myself, Alex, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's very difficult to call, as you very well said, James. It could be the fact that he does strategy.
Spinell into the pits. He's actually going to switch cars. Well, this is going to be interesting. Now, he obviously feels that his driving and that kart are not quite going to quite get on. That clearly isn't an actual fault as such, maybe, but he's switching to another kart. They're giving him the draw now. We can see that on screen. He's pulled one out the bag there, and there's a bit of a discussion going on. Maybe he... No, I think he's going to get in that one straight away. Where is it? Anyway, so Sam Spinell, obviously down the back there, they'll be waiting. And I'm sure Michael Weddle and Gary Jones really don't want to sit there too long. There'll be enough nerves going on. There we can see Matt Barsh on pole position now. Just back one, that's Gary Jones in the red suit, back two that is. So we're looking at Michael Weddle there on the right-hand side of the screen. He's in second place, and Gary Jones in third place. They are really slightly out of position in that to the good forward, you know. Tom Van Dijk is going to be in fifth place. We can expect to see him trying to come charging through. Another one with a potential early pit stop. But Sam Spinell, chances are they're going to make him take a start from the tail.
Sorry to cut across you. There is a very heated discussion going on in the pits involving Sam Spinell, and I'm wondering whether what they're actually deciding on, or whether they're, because I did see him point to the left front of the cart. So whether there was an issue with the braking system, they check these carts every single race, and if they have to withdraw one, I mean, he's had to, as you said, he's drawn out of the hat, and they're still discussing it. So everyone's sort of getting a bit cold down there, I think, on the track.
Yeah, getting a little bit nervy too. What may be happening, Alex? Obviously, we don't know, but just pure speculation. It may well be a discussion of whether they're going to rerun the qualifying or whether Sam Spinell is going to have to start from the back. That's what I'm wondering about more than anything, because obviously Sam Spinell is not just going to want to randomly take a start from the back. He would much prefer the requalify. He knows that he's a front-running driver, and so maybe that's what it was about. Anyway, we've got him in a cart now.
Oh, hang on, Mister.
I think it may have been a discussion, because there are some scenarios which are quite rare in BRKC, so the organisers aren't completely used to them happening. It may well be that the spare cart he drew out of the spare carts bag was one he'd already driven. So they may have been consulting the rulebook to see whether that is legal. I actually don't know. They've just lost a few of those kart draw balls on the floor there underneath the kart. It might be that maybe he drew 13, for example, and he's already had 13. To my understanding, if that's the case, you will have to redraw. If it's the only one in the spares lineup, then of course you have to take it. In the same way that if you're the last person in the pits to draw initially, and the only kart left in the bag is one you've already driven, well, that's just tough luck. You have to drive it again. But ordinarily, you wouldn't drive the same kart twice. So I'm not sure. I think kart number 11 there, Sam's in. He's working hard to warm the tyres up. Hasn't been driven yet today, so it is going to be very, very slippery. But what's he got to lose, really? He's starting in 9th anyway, and now he's going to start 10th.
We've also, I know it's not the same kart, and Sam will be the first to argue this, but there is almost no excuse based on Matthias Gruten's drive earlier on, where he took a kart, he opted for the spare kart, he came through on merit, won the race. So it's not over for Sam Spinell. We know he's rapid. Here comes Matt Barsh. Now Spinell will be taking up the rear. Matt Barsh is about to go and going. When does he get on power? He's on the power now, and he's got Michael Weddle trying to stay with him immediately. Weddle's right on the tail of Matt Barsh. Matt Barsh takes the initiative from the line there and converts pole position to a race lead. We've got a bit of battling going on. I think that was Tom Van Dyke in the blue suit there. Whoever it was is still in 5th place, so maybe a pass and a repass. But it is Matt Barsh up at the front. We're going to be coming on the back stretch here, Alex. We'll see. Does Barsh go defensive? Or no, he's just on the normal racing line up by the wall.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing was he eked up a little bit of a gap anyhow within the first half lap. So that made for being able to actually keep, I think it was Gary Jones.
Second is Michael Weddle.
Michael Weddle at bay, and he's maintaining that gap. But there is some battling going right down the field as well, and I think I'm just trying to see if anyone switched any places up there, John.
Well, we saw quite a few people out of position, really. We got some arguably less fast people, should we say, because no one's particularly slow, but the less fast well up at the front and some faster at the rear, and I think there's a little bit of shuffling and sorting out going on in these early stages already.
Well, as you mentioned that, Sam Spinell's back up to 9th place already with the 36.4 on the last time round, so he's charging, but Matt Barsh has just set the fastest lap. Well, he's actually gone 2/10 quicker.
And an early pit stop by Spinell, just as we thought he might do. The 11 kart comes in. That's Spinell who's taking the early stop. We can see we're looking for the red light and then the green. Is it going to be a good stop? It's not looking bad, actually. He's moved. Yeah, that's about as good as it's going to get. That's an interesting thing from Sam Spinell, but to be honest, I have to say, probably the most obvious move he can make. What's happened is he's taken himself away from the slower runners. He's now running on his own where he feels he can be quicker, unhindered, and there's a lunge down the inside there. Someone bundled wide. It was the, I think that was the sort of Stephen King area of all this.
Yeah.
But anyway, another pit stopper. So is it someone else who feels like they're out of position? It's the number 9, and that is Steve Gray. Steve Gray, that's very interesting. He was somebody we thought had qualified quite well by comparison so far, but an early pit stopper. In that situation, we might have expected him to stay out longer. That's why it's a bit strange.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very interesting you say that, James, because now Sam Spinell's in clear air. He's just done a 35.6. And even with that kart being the first time it's been used today, that's going to be another complete sort of can of worms he needs to open in order to get the maximum out of that kart. But Matt Barsh is still leading. He's one. Well, it says here. Michael Wenham. He's sort of about 3/10 per lap pace off Matt Barsh, and I'm wondering if Barsh has actually opened up a little bit more of a gap as number 19 has just come out the butt. So Stephen King
that's Stephen King. He's dropped
and Sam Spinell actually just took him on the finish line just as King came out. So Sam is trying to maximise everything. He's gone even quicker this time around, I think.
Exactly. That's the clear reason for the early stop by Spinell. Every time, he can do the fast laps on his own, and he's going to be leapfrogging driver after driver in the pits like that. Matt Barsh is currently the fastest on the track by some margin. His last lap's been his best, and another pit stopper. That's the 21. I think that's is that Melanie Howell? Yes, it is. Melanie Howell comes out of the pits, and guess what? Yes, it's another place for Sam Spinell. He keeps racking them up. Now, have a look at Spinell as they come through. Look how he leans out, typical Belgian style, leaning out wide, and that's breaking the grip of the inside rear, and that is one of the reasons why Spinell's so fast. Look at him again in the hairpin there, really hanging it out there, leaning out wide to make sure he's not causing his own understeer by lessening the grip on the inside rear wheel there. So, is this? Yes, it's Spinell we're looking at there in the 11th. In the 11 kart coming through, he's closing down in the kart head. That's Steve Gray, who we've also seen in the pits. So he's not going to be able to go past him as Gray pits. He's going to have to actually fight him on the track. But Spinell is closing in on Gray, and clearly in this race means business. Meantime, look at that lead by Matt Barsh. He's got a huge lead from Michael Weddle, and Barsh faster and faster every lap, and is just really pulling away. This is a great chance for him to get a huge ton of points. His big dangers in this race would have been Tom Van Dyke and Sam Spinell, who are actually mired down in 4th and 8th respectively. So Barsh needs to take advantage of this and pull away at the front.
When his gap is actually 3.3 seconds, James, I mean, that is impressive. He's just literally putting the pedal to the metal and going for it and saying, look, I've got an opportunity here, here's my chance, and he's making the best of it. I'm wondering whether he's actually going to do a last-minute pit stop like we saw Annalene Booten do last night before she got punted out by Mr. Edine, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting with that, Alex, we'll probably find that it depends a lot on the back markers that Barsh catches. Obviously, if he's going to pit late, that means everyone else will be pitting first, so they may end up cycling in behind him, or they may end up right on him. Now, if Barsh catches people one at a time, another move by Sam Spinell. He's up to 7th now.
He just tried going, he tried going around the outside.
He's coming through that field, Sam Spinell, and he has to. I think there was a bit of a move going on ahead of him that he took advantage of there more than anything.
Yeah.
But going back to Barsh and the pit stop strategy, I think a lot depends on what he's catching, when he's catching. If he's catching a group, he might use the pit stop to get away from him. If he just can nail them on merit, all the better. However,
and we just had another pit stop happen now as well.
I think that's Tom Van Dyke in the 17. Yes, it is. It's Tom Van Dyke. He feels, I think, that a pit stop now would help his cause. He does get out in clear air. Now, he's quite clear ahead. He's quite clear behind. That allows him to run at his pace. It's not really like, people who are more used to car racing or whatever, where the slipstream plays a part. Not really in rental karting. Running on your own tends to be the faster option. A pit stopper, and that will be the 12, which is Mark Jaggard. Mark Jaggard, I think, went in near the back and has resumed near the back. Another pit stopper. This is interesting. That's the 16. That is Gary Jones. Gary Jones pitching out 3rd place. A little bit surprised to see that. But we'll see where he comes back in. Meantime, Sam Spinell up to 6th now. He's really tearing through the field.
Yes, definitely. And there's a couple of nice little battles going along. We've got Steve Gray versus Sam Spinell, and then we've got Stephen King and Melanie. Howell. So there's 2 really great battles. I'm interested to see how they progress as well.
And there's another one just going out of picture now to the right. We've got Gary Jones, who has moved past Tom Van Dyke. He fought his way past Tom Van Dyke is waving like crazy on the backstretch. That's Gary Jones in the red suit versus Tom Van Dyke in the blue and white. Tom Van Dyke clearly not happy with that, and he's coming back at Gary Jones, but a pretty robust but decisive move by Jones on Van Dyke. And that, of course, was for 3rd place. We've seen them credited with that now as they cross the line.
Yeah, and Gary's gone up into 3rd, and Sam Spinell's just got past Steve Gray somewhere out on track. So Sam has really got the bit between his teeth and going for it.
Yes, he has. Now, have a look at this down the backstretch when we come into view. We're going to see Michael Weddle. There's Michael Weddle, but there is Gary Jones and Tom Van Dyke. But look here in the background. Here comes Sam Spinell. This is a man on a mission.
And he's only 4 tenths off the pace from Matt Barsh as well, so he is closing. He's got some clear air, and he's going to make the best of it. I'm sure we're going to see some more fireworks from Mr. Spinell very, very shortly.
Absolutely. Sam Spinell, with a dual Belgian and British nationality, he competes out a lot in Europe. He fully understands the European way of racing, which is very much to the forefront in rental karting. Now, Sam Spinell, one thing I would say, when it comes to fiery drivers, he's one of the fieriest out there, not just in this race, but in this whole championship.
And we're seeing both Tom Van Dyke and Gary Jones trying to outfox each other on the back straight going into the hairpin. But still Gary Jones ahead of Tom Van Dyke. There's literally, you couldn't put much between them at the moment.
Absolutely right there, Alex. That's very interesting what you're saying there. We are seeing Spinell being held up a bit there. He's caught up with somebody. I'll just have a check at that.
He's actually trying to nudge Steve Gray.
Yes,
and I remember this bit when Mr. Philpott did a fantastic inside overtake last night. That's another opportunity where someone might decide to throw it up the inside as well.
Absolutely right there, Alex. That's one of the prime spots on this alternate layout. Down at the end of the straight here is always going to be a good spot, but the one you've picked up on, we've seen some action down there on the weekend on this alternate layout. This is the last time we'll be using this alternate layout. The next round of heat goes back to the normal. There's Gary Jones on picks over Tom Van Dyke. Still continuing. Let's have a look here. There's Michael Weddle. A bit of a gap opens up to Gary Jones, then Tom Van Dyke. So obviously a bit of bumping and boring there. But here, look at this. Steve Gray and Sam Spinell. Sam Spinell, this is the longest he's been sat behind someone, but has to be said, Steve Gray is probably the toughest person he's come up to so far.
I think he's going to wait for his right opportunity, and I think the back straight will probably be one of the best places to do it. But
he
tried to lunge up the inside, but it didn't quite pay off. But I'm sure that Sam will think, right, okay, I'm trying to get the measure of him. I'm trying to make sure that if he makes a slip up, I'm there to pounce.
He will, and I think what we're seeing is actually, for my money, a surprisingly patient Sam Spinell when it comes to Steve Gray. The interesting thing with Steve Gray is he's going to have to fight him on merit. Gray has been in and out of the pits.
Yeah, and we're seeing this nice little battle between Gary Jones and Tom Van Dyke. Van Dyke still trying to sort of either go round the outside, like we've seen several people do this weekend off that back straight, and Spinell's still trying to get. He's still trying his very best to get past Steve Gray as they come round the final corner towards the start-finish straight, and yeah, that's another battle. There's so many different battles up this race. We are seeing some fantastic racing this season for the BRKC.
Absolutely, as I touched on earlier, Alex, Sam Spinell definitely one of the more emotional drivers. What it has to be said is that was backed up.
I think Tom Van Dyke's just gone into third.
Tom Van Dyke's done it. There he is on the backstretch. Tom Van Dyke in the blue suit has passed Gary Jones. Tom Van Dyke actually pulling away from Gary Jones in the short space of time he's been ahead. Now that shows just how much time he must have been losing. Van Dyke is trying to close in on Michael Weddle. He can see him ahead. He may well, there's Weddle, and there is Tom Van Dyke. He may yet pass Van Dyke, but I think Matt Barsh is a done deal. He's going to win this thing. And
Spinell is waiting to pounce. I can sense it in the air. He's really trying to look at what Steve Gray's doing, but it's not happening. He's been stuck there for at least the last 5-6 minutes, and that's compromised his race a little bit.
Absolutely, but here they come down the backstretch. This is Spinell. He's surely going to go to the inside now. Is he going to do it? It's going to be a lunge? No. Well, that's amazingly patient from Sam. I've normally seen him a bit fiery. We've seen 2 cases of arm waving from Spinell already in this race, so he's clearly up on full emotion. We'll see what happens when it comes to trying to deal with Steve Gray. Quite frankly, Alex, I can see Spinell getting increasingly bored of the sight of Steve Gray, and we're going to see some fireworks fairly soon, because he needs to get past Gray. He's got to get past Jones and Van Dyke. Second is all he can hope for, because when you actually look at it, there's Weddle, there's Van Dyke, there's Jones, there's a back marker. Now here comes the Gray-Spinell battle. With 8 minutes to go, he's not that far behind Weddle, who's actually running second place. You know, Sam Spinell could do this if only he can get past Steve Gray in the next couple of laps.
I mean, the thing is, even though they've been battling, they're still running a 34.8, which is not too far off the pace of Tom Van Dyke, Gary Jones. They're actually quicker than Gary Jones, so whilst they're battling, they're still keeping the pace up. So that's helping them draw Gary Jones in a little bit.
Absolutely. Now, I remember in my racing, I've done a lot of racing in the States, and one of the big things I learned out there, someone taught me something great, and that was always race the leader. I'm sure Spinell, he's battling with Gray, but he will know that Weddle's actually not that far ahead. He'll be looking across the track. Matt Barsh is out of the question, who is the race leader, but Weddle's not for Sam Spinell. Now, if Sam Spinell wants to score points from this, I mean big points,
yes,
and he needs to get second place. There's Weddle, there's Van Dyke, who's caught Weddle now, there's Gary Jones, but here comes the Gray and Spinell battle. If Spinell can only get past Gray, he is on for catching Weddle when you look at the pace, because the lap speed he's running is actually Weddle's personal best, and Weddle's not running at that personal best right now. They are technically closing in, albeit inch by inch.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is that I have to give credit to Gary Jones for doing a fantastic job of Steve Gray keeping Sam Spinell at bay for I think it's at least 7 minutes plus, and Spinell's actually right bumper to bumper with Gray as they've just crossed the finish line and gone into the first hairpin, and Spinell's measuring him, sort of waiting to see what happens, and I'm wondering if he's not going to throw it up the inside, because Gray has always got his number on that particular hairpin, where we've seen some great lunges down there, and we have seen some calamities as well, let's put it politely.
Absolutely. I mean, Gray is defending brilliantly because he's not losing a lot of time. As touched on earlier, they are technically closing in on Michael Weddle inch by inch when you look at the clocks. However, Gray is absorbing immense pressure from Sam Spinell. We all like to think we're good at this, but I think I can honestly say, if I was Steve Gray right now, that's a place I would have lost.
I definitely agree with that on that with you, James, as Spinell is actually pretty much near enough pushing Gray along, actually trying to put the pace up, to help them both get up to Gary Jones and Tom Van Dyke, as Matt Barsh is still the fastest man out on track. 34.4. I don't think we've seen a pit stop with about just over 6 minutes to go, James.
Absolutely. And now what's going to be crucial there, we've got a 12-second gap to Michael Weddle. He is now in the territory where he can come into the pits, make a fairly secure pit stop and just come out in the lead. Of course, we haven't seen Weddle.
And Sam Spinell's just taken Steve Gray.
Yes, he has. Finally, Spinell has done it. Now, there they are coming into view. There's Spinell, there's Steve Gray on the screen there. It's going away from the hairpin. With the greatest respect to Steve Gray, I think we're going to see Spinell pull away pretty quick. Weddle is his target. Weddle has to be his target, and the time to close in on him is right now. We need to see some record laps now from Sam Spinell. It's highlighted in blue, which indicates fastest lap by Matt Barsh. I think we're going to see some blue numbers coming up for Sam Spinell, indicating that he is actually the fastest kart on the track now.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually just gone quicker, 34.791.
A personal best.
A personal best for the race, and also he's only just over 3.5 tenths off Matt Barsh's pace at the front.
Yes, he is, and I think he's going to keep getting closer. Whoa, look at this, side by side. That's Tom Van Dyke with Michael Weddle. Yes, Tom Van Dyke, I believe, has moved up to second place.
I think he has. That was a nice little clean overtake there, measured it correctly, braked when he needed to, and had the gap.
Absolutely. Now, Gary Jones will have taken heart from that, because there is Tom Van Dyke, there is Michael Weddle, but here's Gary Jones. He's going to be having his shot at Weddle, I'm sure, because Tom Van Dyke pulled away. Interesting with Tom Van Dyke, really, and, you know, with the greatest respect, he is a very young driver, but definitely one of the top drivers in Europe at the moment. But here he is at an indoor event with a tinted visor. And you can see it's up there. You clearly can't see very well through that one. So Tom Van Dyke rather humorously turns up to an indoor kart event with a tinted visor.
Even though on the driver's briefing it was mentioned to actually have a clear visor, but if you decide, and they said if you decided to use a tinted visor, you might be looking more like you're not. If you go to Singapore in Formula One, you're not going to have a good day at the office.
Absolutely, there, Alex. You're right. What's kind of fun with that in his slight get out, give him the benefit of the doubt, he's not British.
Very true. So we can allow him that excuse. So that's not a problem at all.
Absolutely. Right. And talking of people who aren't entirely British, we've got Sam Spinell, who's now creating a bit of a gap. We've yet to see Sam Spinell set the record laps. He's coming across the line. We'll see. He set personal bests, but we'll see if he can go even faster. Well, he's on personal best, near as darn it. But he needs to be doing sort of Matt Barsh kind of pace. He is faster, though, it has to be said, than Tom Van Dyke, who's second. So he is clawing in, albeit not the fastest in the race. That is Matt Barsh, who we've hardly mentioned at all, as Matt Barsh raced away in the lead with 3.5 minutes to go.
But in terms of pure lap time, Tom Van Dyke isn't that far away from Matt Barsh. I mean, he's only like just over half a tenth.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. He's done an earlier lap, but, well, yes, 34.7 by... that time, yeah, he's 2 tenths off on that particular lap alone. Tom Van Dyke, of course, that's what happens when you qualify out of position, isn't it? He hasn't had the chance to put that actual speed to good use. It took him a time to get up to second place. By then, Matt Barsh long gone.
Yes, indeed. He was away with the tumbleweeds, as we'll call it. So, yeah, I mean, Matt Barsh has just literally dominated from start to finish with just over 3 minutes. But we're still waiting for Matt Barsh to actually do his pit stop, I believe. So... that's I'm hoping that's probably going to be, so when we get to the 2 minute marker, he'll have to do it on that lap, and I think he's going to leave it right until the death to get it done, and then go, right, I've got a comfortable lead over Tom Van Dyke, here I go.
Absolutely, and that's a 14-second lead he's got right now over Tom Van Dyke. Alex, he can come into the pits now, he can make a conservative stop without taking any risks on the lights or whatever, and he can come out in the lead there. What is interesting, look at that backstretch. Now we're starting to see Sam Spinell clearly closing in on Gary Jones. There's Jones in the red suit coming out of picture. There's Sam Spinell. He is closer than he's been all race.
Yeah, but he's still got 2 minutes left to make a dent into that on Gary Jones, and with just over 2.6 seconds separating the pair, I mean, Sam is actually closing on him at a rate of at least 3 tenths a lap. So is that going to be enough? We'll have to wait and see, really.
Well, Sam is running, currently, he's technically, in the last few laps, the fastest on the track. It's not a new record, so it's not showing up in blue on our timing screens as the fastest lap. But when you look at the last laps of everybody, it is Sam Spinell, who is only just the fastest person out there right now. But, as you pointed out, Well, it's even worse now. He's only got a minute and a half to do whatever he's going to do.
Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting. I mean, Matt Barsh, I can see fighting through traffic. He's actually trying to get past Melanie Howell in the number 21, who's down in 8th. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Matt Barsh, I think has got They actually just showed the last chance to pit board.
He's going to need to come in.
So I think race control might have picked up on the fact that he is not pitted yet, and he said, "You need to do it now. You need to do it now. Otherwise, it's back to P10 on that one if he doesn't make the pit."
And can you imagine a worse race to get disqualified on when you've got a lead that allows you to pit and come out still in the lead? Matt Barsh has not pitted. Matt Barsh has crossed the line. He's not pitted. Has he been in unsighted? Have we missed that?
I know.
don't think we have. Matt Barsh has driven past the pit entrance. What is going on? He's going to get the checkup. I think he's blown it. This could be the most epic failure of the lot.
I think it brings another addition of drama to the weekend we've already had, James. I mean, with last night's barnstorming action and one of the heats on the last heat on the reverse track, and we see Matt Barsh doing a textbook job, but if he hasn't pitted, he's blown it.
Absolutely. I mean, this is, as you say, textbook job. If he has blown it, it's a textbook job of winning it, and it's a textbook job of throwing it away. Yeah. He has pitted.
He has pitted.
Yeah, we've had confirmation he has pitted.
So
thank goodness for that, because
we can breathe a sigh of relief.
Such an incredible lead.
And they've just put the checker out
that's
as
all right.
well.
Thank goodness he's won the race. It's all in the bag. I'll tell you what, Alex. I don't remember him pitting. Luckily, we've been told he has. Thank goodness for that, because you don't want to see someone lose like that, do you?
No, no.
Thank goodness it's us that missed his pit stop rather than he that missed his pit stop.
Well, we can't always see everything up here in the commentary box, can we, James?
To be fair, we have been focusing not very much on Matt Barsh at all. With that epic performance, Tom Van Dyke came from 5th. He's gone up to 2nd. I'll be honest with you, I think 2nd was going to be his best result regardless. So even if he did qualify out of position, he finished where I believe he would have finished anyway. Michael Weddle, a great run to 3rd place there. Gary Jones should be pleased with 4th. Sam Spinell, I think he's done brilliantly to get 5th, but I know that he will personally be disappointed with that. Rounding the rest of them out, Steve Gray, he's going to be wanting a bit more than 6th, but he has driven brilliantly to get that. It's been a tough race. Stephen King 7th, Melanie Howell 8th. Gregor Olegnovics is in 9th, and Mark Jaggard has come home in 10th place in this race. But an absolutely emphatic victory by Matt Barsh, one of the biggest margins we've seen. He hadn't failed to make the pit stop. One of the things that made us think he hadn't made the pit stop was the sheer lead that he had. 14 seconds by Matt Barsh. Absolutely storming performance there.
I think the biggest thing is that he was very, very consistent in terms of hitting the 34.4s, the 34.5s on a consistent basis. So by doing that, he maximises opportunities. That's probably why we missed the pit stop, because he was literally going hammer and tongs out front in the lead. And we were concentrating on the battles of Michael Wenham and Tom Van Dyke, and then Gary Jones, Sam Spinell, Steve Gray, and a few other battles up and down the field. So it made for an interesting thing that we see it sometimes, where the leader shoots off and everyone down the grid is actually battling for position.
Yeah, you've got it there, Alex. That's exactly what happened, and why we missed it, because we were so busy focusing on the battles where drivers are coming through who qualified out of position. Matt Barsh was making it look easy and ran away with it. Talking to people who've got a habit of making it look easy, up in this next heat race, we've got 3 times and reigning British champion Ruben Boutons. Ruben Boutons is going to be in this next race. Let's run through the running order here. We've got Killian Studor, who obviously has been very strong in the junior championships years ago. Now obviously running